Ed Howe's Newcastle have been playing a lot of football in the Premier League. And one of the games that caught my eye was against Manchester United. The game ended 1-0 to Newcastle, but the great truth is that it was cheap for United. Newcastle simply crushed Erik ten Hag's men and could certainly have built up a much bigger score, and all this superiority was born of a very interesting tactical advantage, which I'd like to share with you. Take a look. This advantage was created by United's passing game. In this scenario, Newcastle didn't play an individual game, nor did they make a point of having numerical superiority at the back. On the contrary, Isaac pressed Onana, often without even worrying about the defenders. Almiron and Gordon marked the passing line, but had to press the defenders. Bruno Guimaraes marked Mainu. Jolton and Miley marked McTominay and Bruno Fernandes, and here's a great idea. You'll notice from watching the moves how they marked up front, nullifying that line of passing on the ground in the central corridor, but also being looser to help cover for United's fullbacks when the winger pressed the defenders. So basically, the defensive line and Guimaraes were doing more traditional high marking at the back, the others were marking up front and creating a kind of barrier that isolated United into two blocks that didn't communicate. Now, in theory, everything is beautiful. Here United give the ball away and Newcastle organize themselves to press. Bruno Guimaraes gets forward quickly to stop Mainu carrying the ball. Now watch how Miley starts by marking Bruno Fernandes from the back, but he's going to mark him up front. So he moves to the side, takes a look to see if Bruno Fernandes is still there and leaves the passing line open, but the moment Dalit tries to shoot, he takes the shot and kills United's clearance. Newcastle's pressing has a very high level of exposure. Notice how the winger presses the defenders, Almiron presses Shaw and Gordon presses Maguire. With that, Isaac presses Onana. Practically 4 players to press 3 opponents on the line, which requires the defense to be impeccable in disputes over the long ball. Dalit and Shaw took turns, but United's positioning repeated itself, so that Almiron had carte blanche to press high. Tripper and Miley took it in turns to cover. In this shot, notice how Miley goes towards Shaw in case the play went that way, and then he reads the play and moves towards Bruno Fernandes, always keeping an eye out for an interception. By the way, attention again to Newcastle, pressing high with 4 players against 3 opponents on the line, and on the left, it was Joelinton who had the dual function of covering the high pressure by marking Wan-Bissaka's descent, or closing into the middle to mark McTominay.
You need to watch that. He hasn't scored yet this season, Trippier. Onana just got the ball away under pressure from Gordon.
The impression was that Ed Howe's strategy for this match against United was to keep the pressure on Onana at all times, and to take advantage of the goalkeeper's form to take even more confidence out of him. So Newcastle simply maintained this stance throughout the game, and it turned into a real nightmare for United. In this shot, notice how in the middle, Joelinton and Miley mark up front, leaving Bruno Fernandes and McTominay at the back, while Bruno Guimaraes marks behind Mainu. This means that Mainu has no options for short passes forward if he is called upon. The ball is played back, Isaac is free to press Onana, and Almiron presses Shaw, cutting the pass straight to Dalit, and Gordon does the same on the left. Watch out for Maguire and Wan-Bissaka. Onana tries to come out on the right, noticing how Joelinton advances, and this prevents Wan-Bissaka from trying to take off with the ball escaping behind Gordon's back, so he's forced to hold back, giving Gordon time to press. Newcastle then kill off another of United's clearances. This shot shows how United were suffocated by Newcastle's positioning. Isaac pressures Onana, Almiron gets on top of Shaw. Here Miley plays the role of Bruno Guimaraes marking Mainu at the back. He leaves the passing line open, but when he receives, the pressure comes. And even if he escaped, through the middle, the 2 options for a quick build-up play are neutralized. This was repeated throughout the game, with Miley practically taking Bruno Fernandes out of the game by preventing him from receiving the ball. Notice how he closes down the pass, putting himself between the ball and Bruno Fernandes all the time. Every time he realizes that the pass could go out, he positions himself to intercept it. As a result, United's game stalled, the players were forced to hold on to the ball too much, and the marking was too tight to recover. And this situation turned into a real nightmare for Erik ten Hag's team.
Bissaka given no time whatsoever by Joel Linton, and Newcastle's pressure.
Now, when the focus is on the passing line and the marking is done up front, there is always the possibility of creating numerical superiority. With this setup, United could do this both through the central corridor and out wide, in fact, mainly down the flanks, using the three-man formation. Putting someone in the void to drop back, while the free man projects forward. And that's where one of the pillars of Newcastle's pressure comes in. The defensive line was practically impeccable, precisely to break down this possibility. When the defense recovers, that exposure becomes an advantage. On the right, Almiron will help to break up the play, and on the left, Gordon will be completely free to finish.
There's Isak, and now Guimaraes. They're threatening again, Newcastle. Kieran Trippier forward. Tries it in! 1-0! Anthony Gordon with another goal for Newcastle!
We're talking about a single interaction, a single match, and there are a lot of good teams this season. A lot of people are taking the game to the next level, and anyone who follows soccer has to be careful not to get left behind. Thank you very much for watching this video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll stop here, a big hug, and before I finish the video, here's a message from our sponsors. See you in the next video.
If you suffer or are afraid of ever developing cancer, I know you keep wondering, what will become of me? Will I be alive tomorrow? Will one day, will the pharmaceutical industry be able to create a solution to my problem? One thing I assure you, this industry is not worried at all about you. Think with me, why do you think technology involves? The science is involved, medicine itself involves. And we still don't have a solution to this old problem, fortunately along with my team. We have gathered more than 100 definitive forms to beat cancer, some of them 10,000 times more effective than the conventional way. Do you want access to this list? Then click on the link and come find out. The link will be fixed in the comment.